Hi everybody. So for those of you who do not know me, my name's Dan Hall. If actually you don't know me, it means we all have to work together to get a little bit closer, because that's what we're here for. Today we're going to talk about some flipping. I love the title, Good Flipping Advice. It's kind of funny actually. So we're going to go in, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and we can touch base on basically the do's, the don'ts, the pros, the cons, everything about house flipping. My background primarily is ICI, Industrial, Commercial, Institutional Construction. I started, basically, I was like a bike courier when I was like 17 and realized that I wanted to get into construction. So I started many moons ago with Local 27, and I started going into my carpentry apprenticeship. And I didn't know anything about construction. I mean, when I say nothing, nothing. They were saying, Dan, here's a hammer. Here's a nail. And I'd say, okay, hold it. You're telling me that's the hammer, that's the nail? I knew absolutely nothing. So I climbed my way through, and it was almost like going to war. You guys do commercial, anybody? Large scale construction? So as a carpenter, you're literally, when you put on your steel toes and your hard hat, I had stitches, I got rebar through my leg, I've got frostbite in my eye. Sounds like I'm a klutz, but really it was just, it's a lot of work. It's huge, huge construction. You're on site at 6 a.m. and the good news is you're union, so you're out of there at 3 o'clock before traffic. One of those guys that you get frustrated seeing them walk into their car at 3 with their lunch pills and you're just going to meetings in residential. So after about 5 years as a carpenter, I was on a project, Humber College in Toronto, Kipling and Lakeshore, and I got 2 checks on the lunch hour instead of 1. And I said, what's this? No, I only get 1 check. And he says, no, you're laid off. I said, what do you mean laid off? I don't gotta get laid off. I have 5 years of every day working. And I went to basically the large sites. I was working with Van Bott's Construction at the time. They were 3rd largest North America general contractor. And I went to all of their downtown Toronto sites, and I wouldn't take no for an answer. I wanted to continue to work that day. Nobody was hiring. So I went up to the office and I said, I'd like to get into a management position. And they said, no, there's my water. So they basically said, you know, we've been waiting a long time for this. And Dave, did you take my water? Anyone? Okay, sorry, I'm gonna need one eventually. They said, you know, we've been waiting for this for a very long time. We have a fantastic project for you to go into as an assistant superintendent. And I said, great, where am I going? They said, Humber College. I said, but you just fired me from there. How am I going to go back? They said, don't worry, that was a political thing. We needed money from the client, so we sent everybody home. I go, oh, that really works. I like that. That sounds kind of cool. I can't wait to get into this management aspect. Thank you for the water. So I went back to Humber College, and it was an interesting project. Started at $7 million, and I went in as an assistant superintendent. The senior superintendent only lasted 3 months with me, and then they basically said, sink or swim. You're going to manage this job whether you like it or not. Please don't screw it up. The budget was $7 million. I think when I ended it was $14 million, but it was mostly due to architectural changes, I think. I don't think it was all my mistakes. And I started growing into managing $50, $60, $70 million jobs as a site superintendent and junior project manager, climbing up the ladder again. And I realized I was at a standstill again in my career position. And I thought, okay, this is great. I'm making a lot of money at a young age, but I was in my mid to late 20s managing jobs that were way over my head. I mean, these things are $80 million projects. They're huge. I'm talking to guys that are 2, 3 times my age. Well, not 3 times, they wouldn't be there, but 2 times my age, and I'm sort of talking out of my ass, realizing I need to go to school. So I went back to the company and I told them that I'd like to stop with what I was doing as a full-time employee with them. And I went to George Brown College. There was a 4-year program. They wanted to, with my work experience, they wanted to advance me immediately to the 4th year college program at George Brown. And I said, there's no way I'm doing this. I've been out of school for over 10 years and there's not a chance you're just sticking me in 4th year college. So I actually went to the third year, then the fourth year, and we ended up I went back, and that's when I started running the Royal Ontario Museum. Sorry, just trying to catch up with this thing. Got to figure it out for a second. I'm pushing. So Carpenter, there we go. I'm going to show you the Humber College project. Does this thing work? Where am I pointing? There? Okay. So this was the Humber College job. So this was 1 out of 8 buildings that we transferred. It actually used to be a loony house. And when I was managing this thing, it was really weird. These guys were actually, they were crazies running around the property still while we were doing construction, doing the transfer. So it used to be an old loony house, and then they were transferring it into Humber College. It was actually quite exciting. Lots of crazy horror stories about this place. The Royal Ontario Museum. This thing got batteries? No. Hey, okay, there we go. So this is the ROM. It was a massive overtaking. When I finished my college program, I went back and I was one of the lead construction managers for this project. It was $388 million. We had the tallest freestanding crane in North America at 288 feet. We were shutting down the downtown core, bringing in steel beams about 100 feet long, shaped like a palm tree that everything was going to tie into. We poured foundation caissons that my arms couldn't touch these silos that were going down and coring into the bedrock of the earth for about 150 feet deep. I mean, it was just such a vast amount of construction. And while I was doing this, you know, it's a lot of work. Sleepless nights. You constantly are worrying about everything. There's a picture that I carried with me, and I still do to the day, and it's a picture of a bobcat that's being craned into a job site, and it has a big demo braking hammer on the front of it. And I keep that with me because that's a mistake that I made in the commercial construction that'll stay with me forever. And I remember the day exactly, and I was in the site office. I got my pager, my walkie-talkie, my big set of keys on a chain, cell phone, which they were pretty big back then. I had a set of drawings under my arm, the fax machine's printing out paper, the phones are ringing, there's trades lined up, they all need direction. And my concrete guy opens the site door and he goes, "Dan, air in the concrete or no air?" I said, "No air." Continued about my business. 3 months later, the engineering reports come in, and the concrete was not, the MPA structure was not up to snuff. It didn't meet what the standards were to be for that weight load, and it all had to come out. It cost Van Bots Construction $150,000 because I said no air. So I realized things are moving fast, really, really fast. This was a work experience that you honestly can't go to school for. You can't get an education in the field like that. And I realized now, at that point, I had an ulcer about the size of a golf ball, and I said, you know what, this is crazy. I'm giving these guys my firstborn child, which I didn't have yet, and I needed some more. So I went at them for an equity position. They said, no, we're not going public with our shares. I said, okay. So I realized where I stood on it, and then that's when I did my very first flip. How many guys have flipped houses here? It's not a bad number. Maybe after today and next year we'll come back and it'll be double after this. So I sort of stepped back at Van Bots doing the ROM, and I was now managing this construction and also doing a house flip. And it was my first one, so it was a big learning curve. A lot of money was probably wasted, but we learn hard knocks as best as we do. And I ended up leaving Van Bots and starting my own small commercial company. I brought all my contacts in from being in the commercial industry, and I ended up doing probably around $3 million in my first year doing small commercial. Huge number for your first year, but that's as far as I went. After that, I exhausted all my contacts and I had nowhere to go, and I thought to myself, okay, so new change. I need to do something. Residential was always something that I liked. The creativity, the design aspect that you can implement into residential, you can't do it in commercial construction. Commercial construction, Here's your drawings, here's your budget, don't screw it up, and get it done on time. Okay, thanks. So there's not a lot of creativity, a ton of stress, but not a lot of creativity. So I had this residential bug in me. After I had done the small commercial, company was called Halden, it was my name backwards, thought I was pretty smart at the time. I was approached by another company that I had liaisons with, Lisgar Construction, and they had asked me to tender a project in Bermuda, which was a $77 million job. It was for the magistrate's courthouse for the government of Bermuda. And it was, we tendered it. We didn't know whether we were going to get it or not. And me, myself, and the two partners, once it was awarded, cost us quite a bit of money to get the job, but we got it eventually. And once it was awarded, I rock, paper, scissored, myself, two partners. I was rock, they're both paper. I went down full time. It's not that great. Sounds really glorified, but it's not. We basically were starting a new country, a new company in a new country. And people would say, so what do you, like, I mean, look at this job site in this picture. It's all bedrock. Everything has to be chipped out. You don't have the means, you don't have the resources. And I'm going down there with a North American mind for a construction schedule. And I would see these guys. This guy goes in, he ties a piece of rebar, he gets on his phone, and he has a smoke. And then he goes and ties another piece of rebar and gets on his phone and has a smoke. 3 hours go by, he's tied 2 pieces of rebar. Well, I was losing my mind because I'm trying to put an aggressive schedule to this building, and when we actually tendered this job, we tendered it with a North American schedule. So we were falling behind in our schedule. Politically, a bunch of stuff happened. We ended up getting bought out at an early stage. That was fine. I didn't mind. And there's a shot of the, this thing's really going to drive me nuts. Okay, so there's the Bermuda courthouse. So we didn't end up finishing the job, but we ended up just sort of, I guess we got it up to grade. We rerouted all the traffic, brought in the tower crane, brought in all the services, and then the government bought us off, which was fine. And honestly, you couldn't put me in Hugh Hefner's jet with a bunch of models to go back to Bermuda. I mean, it was a real challenge. But lesson learned, don't go to another small country on an island to start a company. It's really hard these days. And when I did that, I came back, and this is where Hall Developments kicks in. So I've been around now for about, I was slowly flipping houses, small jobs, little renos, rear additions, top-ups, things like that, and putting out these flips. And now I realize, like, I'm now starting, I've got starting a family. I had to think smarter. I had to do a lot of things. And starting your own residential company, we've all done it. I mean, it's a huge sacrifice to our time, to our budgets, to our families, the stress, everything that carries with it. I had an opportunity where a TV show came up, Sibling Rivalry. Anyone see it? Really? Okay, guess it wasn't that great of a show. I didn't think it was anyways. So I had an opportunity to do this show, and it was just supposed to be me and construction, and that's it. And I was pretty excited about it. And then somehow my sister got involved, my twin sister. I've been in the industry at the time for 15 years plus, doing some pretty massive construction, and my sister, she had flipped one house, used all my trades. I bailed her out, but apparently on the front line she looked good. So the premise of the show was her and I were supposed to build our own custom houses against one another, and there was to be a winner. There really wasn't a winner at the end of it, and I thought to myself, I'm going to do this because this is a gravy train. I'm going to be the next Mike Holmes. I don't even have to make a phone call for a lead for as long as I'm in business. It's just going to flow right in. The show ended. It was one season only, and I didn't even get so much as a text message from a lead from the television show. So now I'm back to square one, and I thought, okay, so business is going to struggle at the early stages because it's a new company, and I've got to figure out ways to bring in other resources for money. So it was basically flipping. We're contractors, so in essence, there's no reason why we're actually not turning houses over on the side. Fucking thing driving me crazy. Sorry guys, this thing's not working well. So having family now involved. This is my kid, by the way. His name's Ryder. He's really cute. Is there any way we can change this thing? Because this is gonna... no, that's plastic. So I do like to go out and make money, and the whole purpose of that was basically house flipping. So now I've got my own business, and this, we're not going back too far now. Struggling to obtain, clients. Getting the leads is a huge challenge, and locking them down is another challenge, and then building it for them is another challenge, and then warranting all of it is another challenge. So the industry that we've all got ourselves into, it's a lot of work.